Okay, I'm back today doing another rod review. If you remember from some of my previous videos, I said that I was going to skip over 5 weights for a little bit because I was I had a couple change ups in the lineup that I wasn't ready to give my opinion on yet. Well, this is one of them. And today I'm going to be talking about the Scott Session 9.5 foot 5 weight. This is a rod that I've been fishing a lot this spring. I've been putting it in clients' hands a lot, and I am ready to give my full opinion on it. I've been fishing this thing mostly on our tailwaters, mostly fishing nymph rigs with it, and it's done fantastic with that. I've also thrown the decent amount of fishing dry flies and dry droppers on it on our tailwaters, and then I've used it up in the national park on some of the bigger streams up there, throwing anything and everything, mostly dry droppers and nymph rigs again. But I've become a big fan of this rod. The action, I would say, is kind of like a medium fast action. It's not quite fast. It's definitely not as fast as the Centrics, but it's not a medium action rod. The 4-weight Session it's pretty close to a medium rod. It's fairly slow. It's on the slower side of medium fast, and I would say this one's maybe on the faster side of medium fast. I've been fishing it with a Scientific Anglers Infinity taper, which if you've heard me talk about lines a lot, you know that I'm a big fan of that one. And that's pretty much what's on all my trout rods until we get into streamer stuff. But I think that line is a great match for this rod, and that setup is just a great do everything trout setup. It's like I said, it's done really well throwing pretty heavy nymph rigs and dry droppers a long way on our tailwaters. I think that extra 6 inches kind of helps, especially with the less experienced caster. Helps get a little bit more distance out of the cast with this thing. But then it's not so fast that it doesn't fish well in the short range with that kind of presentation taper. So even on small streams, it's a very pleasant rod to fish, or medium-sized streams. I haven't fished anything real small with this. I don't really fish 5 weights on small streams. But as far as the extra length, I was concerned that I was going to make the rod a lot heavier, and it is slightly heavier than than the Centric, the 5-weight Centric, or the 9.5 Centric. But again, it's a more expensive rod, and it's 6 inches shorter. It should be lighter. But this is by no means a heavy rod. It definitely doesn't feel like a 9.5 foot 5-weight to me. It just feels like a nice quality 9 foot 5-weight. But that extra reach is really helpful with line control and mending, especially again for maybe not super experienced people. That little bit slower action helps with that too. A lot of beginners have trouble getting good mends with super fast rods. So this is a great rod if you're going to do a lot of nymph fishing out of a boat. It's also a great rod if you're doing a lot of high sticking in like medium sized rivers where you want something a little bit more than a 4-weight. This one's got a little bit more backbone and power, I think. I haven't fished the 9-foot version of this rod, and I haven't played with it a lot, but I do think from the little experience I have with it, this one's got a little more backbone and power to it for fishing those bigger nymph rigs and stuff. But if you're fishing rivers where you're throwing heavier rigs like that, but it's still like a medium size high gradient stream, this is a good, and you're going to do a lot of high sticking, this is a good rod for that. I really enjoyed fishing this one in some of our bigger freestones around here. As far as aesthetics, everything Scott makes is beautiful. It's got the unsanded blanks. It's got all the handwritten serial number and logo and everything like that here on the rod. I mean, it's the same aesthetics as the 4-weight in this rod that I reviewed. The green, it's got green wraps here, green accent wraps. It's got a green insert down here. It's not my favorite, but it's still a pretty rod. The greens don't exactly match either. Like the green on the wraps is definitely a lighter green than this insert. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's that lighter green on the wraps, and then that kind of darker green on the insert. If they would have made it like a true olive, that one could almost be a light olive, but this is just too green to be an olive, too vibrant of a green. But if they would have made it like a olive color, I would have probably loved the aesthetics of this, because I do love olive. But the green that's on here, it's fine. It's not my favorite, but it's still a beautiful rod. It does not have the little inch markers like some of the other rods do. The G series, I think, has them, and the Centrics have them where they'll have like a 12 or a 20-inch marker. The 7-inch or the 7-weight Centric has a 24-inch marker up here, and it's just an extra little wrap that they've put up there, and then a little handwritten 24 inches. Have I ever used that to measure a fish? No, but it does look cool on the rod. I think it's neat it being there. And this one does not have it. It does have the, as with all Scott rods, it has the hook keeper right there that I'm not a fan of, but small issue, small things. It's got their full wells grip. It's not like a symmetrical full well. Or full wells. It's a little bit like the fat part of the grip of the middle is a little bit upward of center. I like that. I've fished lots of grips that have this style where it's a little bit offset, and I think it just fits your hand better. I know a lot of guys don't like, or I've heard a few guys that don't like the grips on the Session series. I think they're a little small. I honestly think I wouldn't mind it being bigger. I do have, pretty decent sized hands, but even for me with big hands, this grip doesn't bother me. If I was custom making this rod just for myself, I would have made this grip slightly bigger, but I don't think it's a problem. I wouldn't go so far as to say this grip on this rod is too small. It's got the double up-locking reel seat, just like the 4-weight Session. I'm going to go on a little tangent here about these, like I always do. I'm a fan of it having a double up-locking. Everybody makes a big deal about having single up-lockings, and they're great. They're really cool when they work. Most of them don't. The ones on the Scott Centrics that I have, they do work. They work very well. But most single up-locking reel seats I have found to not work well. They don't hold the reel on well, and they back off, and it's just, there's nothing cool about a single up-locking if it doesn't work. There's nothing cool about a single if it doesn't work. I'd rather have a double that works. And this right here is a double up-locking that works. Now, that being said, I do really love the single up-locking on the Centrics. And it's got the thread pitch on them on the Centrics is very aggressive. So you give it like one little spin of your thumb and it's all the way tightened up. Again, not a big deal, but it's those little things that, to me, that make that Centric like a rod that I'd be happy to pay $1,000 for. But again, this one's not $1,000 rod. So reel seat works fine. No complaints there. To me, it's just a reel seat. I don't love the green insert. I don't like it as much as the insert that's on the Centrics and that's on the G series. I do like it better. I like that better than, kind of the standard like aluminum tube of a reel seat you're getting on a lot of rods these days. I'm not a big fan of that. So this is, to me, better than those, but it's not as nice as some of the other stuff Scott has done. But again, it's a less expensive rod. And then we get all the way down here to the bottom, and it's got a fighting butt on it. I'm a big fan of a fighting butt on really all kinds of rods. I got used to them on, I like them on my streamer rods. I like them. I got used to them on my Euro nymphing rods, and from that, I would like a lot of my rods to have them. Really, any rod that's over 9 foot long or over a 5 weight, I would like to have one. So I wish my 10 foot 4 weight had one on it. And I don't really know. I can't really tell you why. They don't really serve a purpose in those lighter rods, except to the one thing I do like about them is like stringing your rod up or setting your rod down on the ground. Setting it on that instead of the reel. But I don't have a lot of other reason for one on a 10 foot 4 weight other than, to me, like from fishing a lot of Euro nymphing 10 foot rods, it just looks like it should have one. But I do like that this one has it on it. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if my 9 foot 5 weights had a fighting butt on it. I just like the way rods look with them. But a rod above 9 foot, especially above a 9 foot 5 weight like this 9.6, there's a lot of people that would not have put a fighting butt on it. I'm very glad it has a fighting butt. I think this is a rod that should have one. Scott's fighting butts, they all have this foam on the bottom. I've gotten used to it. I'm not crazy about the aesthetics of it. I think it's prettier. A lot of people on their fighting butts do like the composite cork down at the bottom because it's a little bit tougher than just end grain cork. But the foam's not the prettiest thing to me, especially on the $1,000 rods. It's like, dang guys, we could have put a little bit of composite cork down there and make it look a little bit better. But I do see why they do this. I'm sure this is probably tougher than that composite cork. I've chewed up some of those composite cork ends on fighting butts, and I've yet to chew up one of these foam ends on the Scotts. So there's a reason they did it. It is pretty durable. Doesn't look as pretty, but you just have to ask yourself which one of those is more important to you. But overall, this is a great rod, great components. It's missing a couple of the finer little things that you're going to get by going with a G series or especially a Centric or something in their sector lineup or one of their top lines. It just is going to have a couple little things that this rod doesn't have. But performance-wise, it's got it all. All the performance is there of a high-end Scott rod. It's accurate. It's smooth. It's pleasant to cast. It does the job just without any fuss. And it's got that extra backbone that Scott rods, I think, are known for. When you feel like you're giving it all that it's got, and you go to really haul into it and try to get an extra 10-15 feet out of it, and it just finds an extra gear to give you that extra power when you need it, but without being super fast on the short cast. So I really enjoy this rod. I'm going to continue to fish it. I'm going to continue to put it in my clients' hands. I think it's a fantastic client rod. But I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.